I was in nappies, I was wetting myself.
Ketamine. It's being used by teens across the UK in greater numbers than ever before.
Still go in the toilet every 2 to 5 minutes.
Stories of dealing in the playground and taking it in schools. And in a generation shaped by pressure and escape, ketamine is continuing to own the conversation.
I've seen my baby scream on the floor and you've seen yours.
But will reclassifying the drug make a difference?
The appointments take a lot longer because they're running to the toilet every 5 minutes.
We've got exclusive access to an NHS clinic treating young patients with ketamine bladder.
Absolutely, it's just straight opposite.
And following the campaign to make this drug a Class A.
I'm the Vivian's sister and I won't stop.
But is that really the solution?
It's a complete waste of time.
This is Ketamine. What's next? Aintree Hospital in Liverpool. Medics are about to welcome their first patient in this brand new dedicated ketamine clinic.
One looks to have cancelled herself already, and she's the one I did speak to on Thursday and said she was coming. I've just finished an on-call run, and we had the biggest number I've ever seen of inpatient ketamine users, and that's young people whose pain can't be managed. We'll find out as we chat to them, but yeah, most of them come to the clinic still taking ketamine.
We've been given exclusive access to film on the ward, specifically to treat patients as demand for help with bladder issues from taking the drug soars.
You've got new hair.
Pink hair, I know.
As ketamine's pushed through the body, it can damage and irritate the bladder lining, leading to scarring. And over time, the bladder can shrink.
Take a seat.
Thank you.
Your bladder is getting better with the time off the ketamine.
Definitely.
You're getting more and more fluid in there, more and more urine in there.
I was in nappies, I was wetting myself and I had no control, and now I'm also nappies. I wear pads but I'm also in nappies.
Abby started taking the drug at 20 and was using it for 7 years. After 6 months off it, her bladder is only just starting to recover. And how's your bladder now? You said you're not wearing nappies anymore, right?
I've just recently got out of nappies, and you know what, I am so grateful, because like the embarrassment of having to be in nappies and like trying to hide them over clothes, and like the thought of like wearing them to irritate you, I was having rashes and stuff like that. So the fact that I'm out of nappies is just like, it's a massive achievement, which I thought I'd never get out of ever again.
We've heard stories of teenagers who are maybe in schools who have got access to it. What would you say as someone that's kind of gone through this process?
I was told I was going to have a wee bag. I got told that I was risk at prolapses, being in nappies, and you know what, I didn't believe it would be me. I really thought, okay, you're saying that to scare me and stop me, and you know what, it turned out it was me, and it did happen to me.
Come on down.
Another patient's booked in. He doesn't want us to identify him.
Do you remember what it was last time you had a scan?
He's 25 and last took ketamine back in August, but the break in taking the drug has seen his bladder slowly increase in capacity.
It's staying off the ketamine that's brought your bladder function back up from a bladder of that sort of size to a bladder of that sort of size.
Amber, how often are you seeing teens come here with injuries from taking ketamine?
So at the moment, daily, we've got patients coming in for routine flexible cystoscopy camera check into the bladder. We have patients coming in for treatment, and we have patients coming in to see the doctor in clinic for the first time.
How much of a problem is this at the moment here?
Massive problem. So when I started just over a year ago in urology, I didn't have any ketamine related patients on my clinics that I do. But now that's just increasing every week.
And are there any particular cases that have really shocked you or you've been particularly surprised to see?
There's one in particular that I can think of, who, when we're trying to put the medication into her bladder, we can only get 25 to 30 mils in the bladder before it's excruciating for her.
Wow. So, I mean, what rough size?
It's tiny.
Wow.
So about this big.
Wow.
And then obviously the bladder wall is thickened, so that can't expand or deflate anymore like a normal bladder would.
So you've been referred by your GP because of issues you're having with your bladder, is that right? If you continue to keep taking ketamine, it could start to have an impact on your kidneys, in which case we'd have to put tubes into your back.
This 20-year-old's come to the clinic with her mum. She says she's still using the drug almost every day, sometimes up to 7 grams each time, and she's having to go to the toilet a lot.
Absolutely, it's just straight opposite.
and just a few minutes into her appointment, she's off again. Just a short drive from the hospital, I've come to meet a group who've seen what the drug can do to the very young firsthand. The session is made up of mums and their families who've either lost loved ones from the drug or worry that they could.
That's all our children are to drug dealers, it's just profit.
22-year-old Megan runs this session. She started using the drug daily not long after her 18th birthday.
I'm still going to the toilet every 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes it's every 2 to 5 minutes.
She's invited us to sit in on one of her weekly advice meetups.
Hey, good to meet you. How are you doing? You all right? Thanks for having us down.
This is the meeting?
So this is the group?
Yeah.
How often are these sessions?
Every Monday.
Okay.
Ketamine use has increased massively across the country, and 16 to 24s using it has doubled over the last decade. That's more young people than ever before. And the impact after continued use on a person's bladder can be severe.
I think that's what this drug does, so it gives them a false sense of everything's okay.
It's not passing through properly, it's cutting away your bladder, because when you're taking the ket, it's charged, so it can't dissolve into your body, it doesn't break down, it just goes, it rips it away.
It cuts through.
It just rips it away.
I mean, I've seen my baby scream on the floor and you've seen yours. You've probably seen your grandchild, and it's just horrendous. And it's not until we all start talking and normalising that we can talk about addiction, because that does not mean that you're less of a person. All I'm seeing is people who have lost their children through this drug.
How much ketamine were you using at your worst?
Between 2 to 4 grams a day. It was hell. The pains in my chest, and it felt like I couldn't breathe, felt like I was getting stabbed. Every time I used to breathe in, I was losing my breath. Constantly rolling around on the floor. I can't even fully explain what it feels like to even just see something like your bladder come out here, and that's when I knew I couldn't do it.
Do you remember having a conversation with your mum? Do you remember that first conversation where you talked about ket? I mean, did she know that you were using ketamine?
She didn't know I was using. The reason how my mum found out I was taking drugs is because I was lying on the couch and she found a bag in my sock. And she asked me what it was, and immediately I denied it. Just before I went into detox, that was the night I left it behind. And then while I was in detox, I've never looked back to even take it again.
When you were using the drug, you talk about up to 16 grams a week at one stage. How does it feel looking at those pictures of Megan then?
That person didn't know I was going to make it. I was ready to die, I wanted it to kill me. I used to wake up being angry that I was still alive, and I used to cry and sob while I was taking it because I didn't want to take it.
How bad is the issue of ketamine when it comes to teens taking it at the moment around here? How bad is the problem?
It's really bad. It's affecting 14, 15, 16-year-olds' bladder. It's making you feel like you need to weigh a lot, but you really don't.
Not far from Megan's session is Alderhay Children's Hospital. The numbers of teens taking ketamine and then having issues with their bladder has forced staff to open a kids' clinic, specifically treating those under the age of 16.
More recently, we've seen the ages at which people start using ketamine drift down.
It's the first of its kind anywhere in the UK.
What we're seeing here is a younger age group, perhaps than they are in other bits of the country. But we're hearing stories of children using the drug in school, it being very widely available, and that's really concerning.
And what do we put some of that down to? Why does the drug suddenly seem almost like it's appearing in those settings?
Yeah, so historically ketamine was like a party drug for adults, and I don't think that's the way that young people are using it, because if you're using it in school, that's not really very party drug-esque. But it's got quite a short time window for action, so you can use it in school and then go back to your next lesson, for example, and the effects have worn off. You know, you want any child that you care for to be as healthy and happy as they can be, and to see them, having to come to a specialist clinic with damage to their bladder as a result of drug use is really difficult.
There is a lot of talk potentially about the drug being reclassified. Do you have a view on whether that is potentially the right approach when it comes to teens who are using this drug?
I would say that I think all the evidence suggests that being more supportive will get better results. So I would rather that we focused on supporting the young people that use Ket and want to stop, and being more holistic in our approach to caring for children and young people, rather than making it more punitive. It's illegal already, and children and young people are still doing it. So I would rather we focus on support, and I think destigmatising drug use generally.
Ketamine is a Class B drug. It was moved up from a C to a B in 2014, and since then, its use has exploded. The government's currently speaking to its independent expert panel about whether ketamine should become a Class A, and with it, up to 7 years in prison for possession or life for supply. The spokesperson for the Home Office told us, ketamine is an extremely dangerous substance, and the recent rise in its use is deeply concerning. They reminded us they'll consider the recommendations from their advisory council before making a call. But not everyone thinks making the drug harsher is the right approach. I'm in North London. Vicky, hi, lovely
George.
to meet you.
And
Thanks
you,
so much for
lovely
having us. Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's
Come
a lovely
right in.
house. Have you lived here long?
We've lived here 25 years.
I'm meeting Vicky. Her daughter Louise died back in 2011 after taking ketamine as an art student. One of your fondest memories of Louise, what kind of sticks in your mind?
Gosh, she was always laughing. She was just amazing. She had such a dirty laugh, really, a really deep chuckle. Everybody loved her because she was just so kind and generous. After they'd taken the ketamine to celebrate her submitting her portfolio, she decided to have a bath. And she took her computer into the bathroom, watching Never Mind the Buzzcocks, and her friend who'd gone to sleep suddenly woke up and realised Louise wasn't there and rushed into the bathroom, but she was already dead. She was only 21. She had a whole life ahead of her, but as somebody said, she'd actually lived more in her 21 years than most people do in a lifetime.
Since then, Vicky's been campaigning relentlessly.
I decided to campaign for more awareness of the risks of ketamine to young people, and I did that really from the get-go, because I think that's something I could do in her memory.
Lovely to see you.
Come through.
Yeah.
Come through.
Yeah.
She's invited around her friend Wendy, another mum campaigning. Wendy also lost her daughter Ellie to ketamine while at a festival.
She'd been coming to festivals with me since she was very small, and she always loved them. Because I've always taught yoga in the healing fields. It's always been a very healthy approach to festivals, and she wasn't into that drug part of it. But, of course, what I didn't know was that, the ketamine was infiltrating the avenues of the private school. Just anybody, any young people.
The pair don't want the drug reclassified. If you woke up tomorrow and saw that ketamine had been reclassified to a Class A, what would be your reaction?
Well, it's a complete waste of time, because when they upgraded it from C to B, the usage went up.
Enormously.
Enormously, and it's gone up 300% since ketamine was first around. No one's really saying, I don't think I'll take this because it's Class A or B or C or whatever. The statistics just show that not to be true. So it is a complete waste of everybody's time to keep on reclassifying drugs.
So what is the solution if it's not going down the reclassification route?
What's much more effective is to really campaign for harm reduction, to make young people aware of the dangers of getting addicted, of getting ketamine bladder, of never being able to have sex again, or having to go to the loo every 15 minutes. It just ruins your life. And the criminalisation of ketamine, similarly, will prevent people from getting help. People are always going to take drugs, and the only thing you can do to counter that argument is to make the drugs safer, because you can't stop human behaviour.
The UK's first drag race superstar is the Vivian.
I'm made up. I've just won the first ever season of Drag Race UK.
I'm off to Colwyn Bay in North Wales, the home to drag star the Vivian.
So what are you hearing from
James Lee Williams died in January last year from ketamine.
Okay, good to go.
Since the Vivian's death, their sister's been campaigning for the drug to be reclassified and moved to a Class A.
James was always the entertainer, bringing the laughter to everything. And we had that typical sibling rivalry. You know, I remember lots of things when we were younger that looking back now really resonate with who James and the Vivian were going to be. My brother passed away as a result of ketamine, and I think as soon as I knew that was the reason, I really wanted to sort of make a change. So I did a lot of research into ketamine, sort of what it was, what the effects are, and one of the things that came up was that it was a Class B drug. So I looked at our classification system, and it is measured in different levels. So the first being the risk of harm that the drug can impose, but also the sentencing element around sentencing for both possession and supply. For me, instantly, looking at my brother's story, it is a harmful drug. It's taken my brother's life. So I really was passionate about making that change and having the drug reclassified to a Class A. I stand by that.
How receptive have the government been so far? Do you think they will ultimately make that change?
I hope that they are, but what I will say is I'm the Vivian's sister and I won't stop until I see the change that is needed. We need to be reviewing how we educate children in schools on drugs, their harms, and really ensuring that there's lived experience as part of that teaching.
The government might not be making a major change just yet, but the people I've met with lived experience of the drug all carry strong feelings about what happens next with ketamine.